Hello, hello, hello. This is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about Taco Bell is apparently hosting drag around the nation. That's weird, right? I was scrolling through, I think it was Facebook, and then an ad popped up, and I was like, why are they doing this? And it was from Taco Bell. It wasn't a joke, and it's a thing. It's a thing, dear God, it's a thing. And why? So we're gonna be talking about that, and man, there's been a big effort to normalize this, and which is weird because RuPaul, even though RuPaul has like really done the work to mainstream this, RuPaul has also said it's not meant to be mainstream because it's meant to kind of be a mockery of like everything. So I guess I want to question, why is that something that we feel that we need to celebrate at such high levels of everywhere. So I'm going to be talking about that today. Also, there's some big freakouts over Elon Musk now purchasing Twitter. It was like happening in the process of like happening when we were talking yesterday, but it did become official. And my sister was like fasting yesterday, and so this morning she's like, I accidentally got on Instagram out of habit this morning, and Elon bought Facebook, or Twitter. I was like, oh, I did not know that you didn't know. She's like, well, how would I know? I'm like, I guess I would have mentioned it if I would have thought about it. But yeah, he did buy it, and people freaking out. You got Sean King said it was over. If you don't know Sean King is this big BLM activist kind of guy, and there's a big controversy about whether he's actually black or a white guy, and he says his mother was a whore. So the man on his birth certificate, it wasn't his actual father, and then it was some light-skinned black dude, and so who knows, but people on the right don't consider him to be a black guy and to be a guy pretending to be. So whatever the case, he decided, just a little backstory on Sean King. He said Elon was getting Twitter over like white supremacy and all kind of other nonsense, because they always tie it back to white supremacy. And on The View, they said some really dumb stuff, but of course it was The View, so of course he said dumb stuff. And it's just a pattern of craziness. Also, want to talk about Tim Pool decided to strike back at the Washington Post, which I really, really appreciate. He had an assist from Jeremy Boring, who is the head of Daily Wire. So I like the clapback. I like the clapback of this generation that we're having right now, and all the squishy Republicans and conservatives that, I don't know, just want to knit and stay home and talk about conservative values while you make nice little socks, and the left just steamrolls us. I'm not really interested in that. So I'm thankful to some guys are pushing back. And Tim Pool's not a conservative, by the way. He's just a guy who's not a total tool, even though his last name's Pool, not Tool. Okay. Anyway, before we jump into everything, I do want to encourage you guys to go back to news.com, check out different articles that I've written. Yesterday, I did drop an article about a dear friend of mine, Christina Carano, who won this weekend the Republican nomination in Michigan for Secretary of State, and the left went nuts about it. There's like all these headlines in CBS, NPR, BuzzFeed, and because she's a Trump endorsed candidate, and had her concerns about the election, and she was at the TCF Center for 37 hours that night and witnessed some crazy stuff personally herself. So she's a good person. I don't want people to just paint her in such a negative light. So from my perspective, watching the whole campaign, I decided to write a piece about it. So if you guys would be dears and please share that, I really appreciate that. Please make sure that you check out different merch that I have on the website. Like I made this Free Canada stuff when they had the convoy going on. It's still not too late to get something cool like that. Worked pretty hard on the design, so go ahead, check that out. Also got the "You Are Not That Special" shirts, and also got those in cute little mugs. If you need to downsize someone's ego, there you go. The "My Money, My Business" shirt. A lot of people say things aren't your business. I'm like, of course they are if they're involving my tax dollars. So there you have it. Got all kinds of stuff on the website you guys can check out. And if you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com. Any little thing that you guys can do to support, I really appreciate it. Whether it's, $10, $15, $20, $50, $100, whatever it is, I appreciate it. Make sure you guys are following me across all different forms of my platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Twitter. All my handles are Black T News, with the exception of Twitter. That one is at True Black T, which people have said they've gotten some better engagement already. And seeing people in their feeds that they wouldn't normally see in the feeds. So I don't know if that's just like optimism or if people are noticing that they're not controlling everyone, but that would be interesting. And lastly, before I jump into my funny of the day, I do want to thank Brian and Michigan Pack. I'm in the studio. If I say something today that triggers you, they don't care. I don't care. It doesn't work like that. Just hear uplifting conservative voices. That's what they do here. So I appreciate them. But this is my show. So you can't tattle on me. You can just swipe on if you don't like what I have to say. It really is that easy. Some people don't seem to get that on social media, but it really is that simple. So first things first, I have an Elon joke because I was scrolling not too long ago trying to find something, and this one just spoke to me with Elon holding the little Twitter bird and that iconic scream person, at the inauguration day for President Trump. I guess they are waiting so hard and trying so hard, hoping that they could stop Trump from being sworn in. And when it actually happened, this person goes on the ground screaming the infamous no and just became a living meme. I was thinking about this person the other day when I was driving around, that iconic moment, and what is their life like? What is their life like when they go pull up at the drive-through and someone recognizes them? Do they like, hey, you look familiar? Or maybe someone will instantly get it, just respond with no. Like, what is this person's life like? There needs to be a show where it's just I became famous because of a meme. And I know they do there's some things on TV or YouTube or whatnot that you can find when people just explain the origins of memes and whatnot. But I'm just so fascinated how you just kind of recover in life after embarrassing yourself to such a vicious degree, I guess. So yeah, they are really upset. So since we're here, we'll start with the Elon situation. So you had Elizabeth Warren tweeting stuff like, this deal is dangerous for a democracy. Billionaires like Elon Musk play by a different set of rules than everyone else, accumulating power for their own gain. We need wealth tax and strong rules to hold big tech accountable. So of course, there were some Republicans talking about holding big tech accountable before, because in order to have free speech, because it was clear that they were favoring some people over the other. But now you have folks on the left who are really concerned about big tech because the wrong person got keys to their kingdom. The left really must have considered that Twitter was something that was theirs, and they're upset because Elon feels that people should be able to speak and even say things that offend you, maybe things that you don't like, and have people who may criticize you. I mean, Elon said, I hope that even my worst critics remain on Twitter, because that is what free speech means. But the left doesn't like that, and there was some more hysteria. Here's a video clip for you on the news.
You own all of Twitter or Facebook or what have you. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't even have to be transparent. You could secretly ban one party's candidate or all of its candidates, all of its nominees, or you could just secretly turn down the reach of their stuff and turn up the reach of something else, and the rest of us might not even find out about it till after the election. Elon Musk says this is all to help people because he is just a free speech, philosophically clear, open-minded helper.
So they're flipping out, like alleging, I don't know, putting in people's minds that Elon will do this, just pick one group or over the another with the in regard to the election, which I saw someone make a point like they're probably going to blame the election slaughterhouse red wave in November on Elon buying Twitter. And not their policies, not inflation, not the economy, not gas prices. They'll probably blame it on Elon, sure, probably. Um but the crazy thing about that is Twitter was supposed to be just kind of the town square open field and stuff, but they clearly do go after certain people. Like the Babylon Bee was pretty egregious when they censored their account for pointing out that Rachel Levin is a man. That was pretty egregious. But granted they did give this account back, but Defiant L's, that's an account that'll just find something that you said in the past and compare it to something you said recently, or some kind of something that you said maybe in the past and events recently or whatever, and it'll just show a big contradiction and make you look like a fool. And they don't add any commentary. They have a particular style when they do it. I've posted some of their stuff before on here, and they got suspended one day. I don't remember off the top of my head what it was that got them their suspension, but everybody, they immediately started trending because people are like, this is crazy. They don't even add commentary. How can them just posting tweets of what people say would be bad when the original tweets of those people are still up? How can that be a bad thing? Just sort of pointing out, holding up to a mirror to the ridiculousness of the left. Or it's not always just the left. Just if they find a good Defiant L moment, they'll post it. So, but it is mostly the left who gets it. But that's why they're suspended. Now they did get their account back, but what they did with Babylon Bee was pretty extreme and moved Elon in a particular direction. He's also talked about getting rid of bots and making sure that there's a human behind every account. And there's been like some bots and stuff that have tried to get people to get like I think Bitcoin and other stuff and kind of pretend to be Elon or representatives of Elon and other stuff like that. So he probably doesn't like that either. So he has other plans beyond just people being able to speak free for all on Twitter. But the left is just so upset about this, painting it as like, racism as they always have to do. Here's a clip of The View. So this is trending actually right now on Twitter.
In fact, on Twitter, it is predominantly straight white men. So when Elon Musk says, wow, this is about free speech, it seems to me that it's about free speech of straight white men. And so let them have it. Let them just go at it. I enjoy the block button on Twitter. I think it has a real outsized influence in our world because politicians and celebrities are on it.
So here's the thing. And before she started saying that, you had Joy who was like, well, the right is really, conservatives are very happy about this because of free speech. She's like, but liberals like free speech too. So why, why are they getting such a reaction? And then she turned to Sunny. And so classical liberals like free speech. And I would say modern day liberals like speech that they like, but they don't like the concept of free speech. No, they absolutely don't. They absolutely don't. If you support something like hate speech laws or want to fine or punish people or compel people to say pronouns, different stuff like that, you're not an advocate for free speech. You're not. So that's just an example. So no, Joy, we don't believe you all believe in free speech. Not in the least bit. And bringing it up that Twitter is mainly white men. Twitter is a global app. There are a lot of white people out there, but there's definitely other people from other nationalities on that app. I mean, I don't know if this happens much anymore, but there'd be a trend and all of a sudden like the K-pop people would take over a trend. Like it could be something like, I don't know, Trump or something, and then all of a sudden they would tie Trump to whatever like K-pop band that they want to. Like it would be the girls who do Kill This Love. I can't think of their names. Um, I don't know, but just tie it and they just have like them dancing and like little moves and stuff. So it's I don't even know if that's legit because there's so many different people around the world. Like the biggest account, I think it's the biggest account now on YouTube. It was like PewDiePie, and then it quickly became this other account. I think it was like a Indian account. And they did a lot of Bollywood and other kind of stuff like that. So there's a lot of people in India who start logging on. So you get all these accounts who are interested in that one thing. So and that was like a multi sort of faceted sort of I think big account from like a company versus PewDiePie as a person. So they were actually going to T series. It's T series. So they had like a big war between PewDiePie and T series and who could get to this certain amount of followers first. And PewDiePie actually did a diss track, which was pretty funny. I'm not gonna repeat it because I had a swear word and I don't, but do that. But it was a pretty it was a pretty good diss track though. I'm not gonna lie, pretty amusing. So I wouldn't even like guess that was correct, but let's say that it is correct. And there's a lot of white people who benefit from free speech. Doesn't Sonny benefit from free speech? Don't I benefit from free speech? Isn't Whoopi benefit from free speech? All the Asians out there, Hispanics, like it's not just about white people. See, all these race baiters, they're so against neutrality. They're so against neutrality. Neutrality is bad. Someone the other day, I think it was in my no, I don't know if it was my comments or someone. It was a page I was tagged in or whatever, but I wasn't really part of the conversation. But I was still getting notifications, and then someone said like, "I just want one Republican to explain critical race theory, just one." And I was about to like type something, and I'm like, I don't want to argue with this person all day on Facebook. Like if it was TikTok and I could make a reply video and get some content out of it, maybe. But it wasn't even my page, so I wasn't that invested in it. But there are 4 different tenets of critical race theory, but I would say the most important thing is that they are rejecting. It's a worldview where you have to reject neutrality because you feel that the United States has been historically so bad that even playing field is impossible. So you have to jerry rig the system by applying equity, which is not equality, where you'd lower some standards or would even redistribute opportunities from other people in order to have your minority of choice um, to uplift them so they can be on even playing field. Though, of course, that does not result in fairness, but that is their how they achieve their sort of utopia. So I think that's the best way to sort of explain that. Someone told me to do the dance move again. And then I didn't do much, I don't think. I was I'm glad you guys are amused in the comments. Okay. I'm not much of a dancer myself. So yeah, neutrality, you get free speech, I get free speech. That's great. But they don't like to have free speech because then they'd have to be scrutinized and then they'd have to explain themselves, and then it requires some critical thinking and it require you having to substantiate your argument, and a lot of people can't. And that's why they throw around the race stuff all the time. That's why they remind people that Elon Musk is white, which people are mocking them by mentioning the fact that he's an African American. We're like, how dare they be so upset that an African American man is thriving? And it's just funny to play them against their own sort of rhetoric. But free speech for all is good. So to pretend that he's just doing it specifically because white men benefit, how do black people not benefit from having free speech? I mean, I would like a transparent algorithm to know if I've been I've known I'm definitely shadow banned on some platforms for sure. For sure. So if we could figure out if people were actually doing that, because some people will claim that they don't, but obviously they are. it could create a more even playing field. Trump said that he doesn't plan on getting back on Twitter. I don't know if I totally believe that because I don't know how much he'll be able to resist it. He did have a lot of followers and is an easy way to get his message out. But it is a competitor, though they're not viewing it as a competitor. Nunes was on, and I didn't know he was over Truth Social, I guess, until last night. But he was on Tucker's show, and he was asked about Trump not getting back on Twitter, and he said he doesn't see them as a competitors, but he said they're building something different that's kind of more like a community on Truth Social. And they said that their engagement rate is really high on Truth Social. I haven't gotten on it yet. I'm not even sure if you can get on it on Android right now. I know you can get it on the Apple Store, and they were just kind of beta testing it. So every so often I'll see somebody post like I got in. So it is I guess people were kind of waiting for them to allow them to get in because they were testing it and it can only allow so many at a time. But if they have good engagement that's extraordinarily higher than other sites, it's going to be really important to people, especially as you get into like paying for ads and other kind of things like that and targeted marketing. So they can both exist, but and I guess you'd really have to build it a different kind of way, because a lot of people weren't just going to go join an app that Trump was running. So they do have to find a different way to stand apart. um but I'm glad that Elon bought Twitter. I would like to see some changes, and I like to see what he can do with it. But I it's so funny, the crazy meltdowns that people are having over this is just really unwarranted. Really unwarranted. Anyway, let's move on. Tim Pool, who he's over Timcast. I think, was it Vice that Tim Pool used to work with, and for some reason there was something he wanted him to do he wouldn't do or whatever, so they basically put him in golden handcuffs where he couldn't go anywhere. So he had to wait to basically he got out of that. But he's someone who's been like, um I guess we would consider himself kind of more on the left like originally, but just kind of more moderate. But he's not a conservative, but he just is a guy who talks a lot of common sense. So I liked, and he covers some different kind of news. So I like Tim Pool. I like to follow Tim Pool. But he did something that was pretty incredible. As you guys know, Washington Post went after Libs of TikTok, which is an account that just posts crazy stuff that Libs say. If they don't want it out on social media, they probably should make videos and put them out on social media. And we played one video yesterday that they put on their Twitter account, of a teacher mocking conservatives, like, oh, you don't want me to teach you guys this stuff. And then they played like a slideshow of stuff that they showed their students about explaining transgenderism and how you can be born in the wrong body and all this other kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that Libs of TikTok post. And Washington Post, of course, did an article exposing the woman behind it, which exposed was their words. Her name was not newsworthy, but they decided to out her name and her career, and actually had a link to some personal information in the original story. Then Washington Post came out and lied and claimed that they never doxed her or had any personal information, which is just a flat out lie. So a lot of people on the right have been talking about it, and I've been talking about it quite a bit. But Tim Pool decided to go a step further with a billboard in New York. So that's pretty amazing. So in case you didn't catch it, which we played a few times, democracy dies in darkness. That is their slogan. That's their logo of the Washington Post. So that's why we're shining a light on you. So that was, I don't know who came up with that, but that was pretty good. And mentioned that Taylor Lorenz doxed Libs of TikTok. And so Taylor did tweet out that her family wasn't happy, and some of them been like harassed and other kind of stuff like that. And Ben Shapiro was like, oh, did someone come to their house? Because that's what Taylor did. That's what Taylor did as she was hunting them down. And she claimed like, oh, you know, um it, like they call it shoe leather reporting, like, and they're saying it wasn't really doxing, and we didn't release information that wasn't like public and stuff, but they did, and it wasn't necessary for them to have a link URL in the article that related to personal information to her. um and she's like, well, we had to do it because it could have been someone who's a foreign actor, but they did end up eventually finding out that it wasn't a foreign actor, so they didn't have to go the route that they did. So again, kudos to Tim Pool. He didn't do it alone. Jeremy Boring, who's the CEO of the Daily Wire, apparently ended up pitching in and making it happen, and it's hilarious. Someone said, "Bravo, Timcast." Did he? Yeah, that it's fabulous that they did that. And again, if there's gonna be squishy conservatives that just want to stay home and knit, go ahead and do that. But we do need some people to kind of push back. Um, and it's so blatantly obvious that they made this story to intimidate and bully not only the person behind the Libs TikTok account, but to bully the next person who could have made an account like that, to bully people who want to speak up and post, memes or articles or whatever. Do you recall after the election when CNN sent a reporter to a woman's house for spreading a meme, and they're like, "You're spreading misinformation"? This is just a little lady or whoever it was, but CNN like just tracking down everyday ordinary citizen because they post something on like Twitter. That's psychotic, blatantly psychotic, but that's what they want to do. And so I think it was like 62% of Americans are too afraid to voice their political opinions. I'm not one of those people, but what I like to do, I hope to do with Black Teen News, is to encourage other people to speak up about these particular topics. I don't believe that we can all just get everything out on the airwaves, in the news, and the media, though we do need to find a place to do that. But a lot of people are going to have conversations with their friends and their families and their neighbors. My cousin called me the other day and asked me about my friend Christina, because she had a relative who knew somebody who worked for the Democrats, and they're like, "Oh, this is a crazy woman," blah blah blah. And they keep sending stuff, and so I was like, actually, I wrote this article about my friend. Please pass that on. Please pass this on. She's a good woman. She's a good Christian woman. She has a servant's heart. She's very rooted in her faith, and that, I don't say that because she's going to start some kind of Christian nationalism or something like that. I mean that because she keeps attributing that to having the heart of a servant, and to not let pride or ego or anything, rupture her. So she has her priorities aligned, everything in a really, really good order. I've seen people get big heads really, 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 really fast out on the campaign trail. And I could name a couple people, but I won't embarrass them. I won't embarrass them. But but I can name a few. But she's a good person, so that's one reason why I wrote that article, and I'm glad I was able to share it. But we have to have conversations with our friends and our neighbors, and we can't be too afraid to do it. Now, I don't want you to be all super aggressive, um, and I know sometimes we get aggressive depending on the topics, um, but be persuasive. Be persuasive, study, and try to have good faith arguments, and ask them questions, and have them try to get to the root of why they believe a certain way that they believe. Like, people will like try to I'll have all these conversations with about politics and different things, and I won't mention my religion, at least not as a source of argument to back up my claims, and people will discern that I'm a Christian, assume, discern, whatever, especially in like a conversation about abortion or something, and they'll bring it up as a way to sort of to criticize me, and to I guess throw out my argument or whatnot. But you really need to keep things on point, and talk about what people are actually talking about. And I can understand if you're trying to understand where I'm rooted and kind of coming from, as far as, I don't know, all my sort of alignments and whatnot, but you should concentrate on the actual arguments and the facts, and go from there. But people will criticize me for having beliefs, but then they'll say something like, "Well, I believe that no one should have to work 40 hours a week or no one should have to have two jobs, or I believe that everyone should have a living wage, or I believe that everyone should have free health care. It's like, well, why do you believe that? Why do you believe that? It's a belief. Healthcare is not a right, though. It's a commodity. You need someone else's labor, you need someone else's services. I know you don't believe that nurses should work for free. So you believe that people should be paid. I agree with that. The people should be compensated for their labor, because we all like agree that slavery is wrong, right? Okay, so when you say you want universal health care, you just mean that you don't want to be the one to pay for it, or you just want more people to take all, if not most of the burden from you. Is that what you mean by that? And you can argue that it's more like a societal need, and that it would be good if you can argue that when you look at the numbers and etc. But a lot of that stuff is based on belief. Now maybe you can like explain why you've come to that conclusion, um, but it is a belief. Especially when you get to like no one should have to work two jobs. Have you heard people say stuff like that? Or no one should. I was talking to like a socialist the other day. It seemed like they were socialists. Like I don't know if they would just admit that, but come on. Um, and they just didn't believe. They thought we were being oppressed by capitalism, and they didn't think that we should have to go out and do things that we don't want to do to provide for ourselves and our family, and that was oppressive. I'm like, where do you get this belief that that's just not the right thing to do, or something that we shouldn't have to do? That's a belief. And that's a lot sillier to me than stuff I read in the Bible, because I know it doesn't work. I know it doesn't work. Anyway, let's move on to this Taco Bell thing. Today I was scrolling through Facebook. Then I saw an ad from Taco Bell talking about like they have like a drag show or something crazy like that. And I'm like, is this a real thing? And unfortunately it is. So Taco Bell is unveiling their new drag brunch. So I'm going to be reading from Nation's Restaurant News. Taco Bell unveils a drag brunch tour across the U.S., slaying the breakfast game. The quick service brand is partnering with Sadilla at the cantinas across the country for an interactive morning experience. Taco Bell is partnering with the drag performer Sadilla for drag brunches at cantinas in select cities across the country, the company announced Monday. Each show will feature kings and queens who will be lip syncing on stage at cantinas in 5 cities across the U.S. from May 1st through June 26th. We understand the importance of creating safe spaces for the LGBTQIA plus community, and they are thrilled to provide a unique experience that spotlights and celebrates the wonderful art form of drag and its influence in the culture and their chosen families, said Sean Trisvant, Global Chief Brand Officer at Taco Bell. Taco Bell Drag Brunch was conceived by Live Moss Pride, Taco Bell's LGBTQIA plus, I think I said the A plus employee resource group, which has played a major role in driving awareness of and meaningfully supporting the group. I'm not going to say all the letters again. Communities with both within Taco Bell and the communities we serve and operate in. So here's a question for you. I've said this before, and I want to point out again. I wonder why evangelicals don't have this sort of pull that the alphabet mafia appears to have. Because especially when you look at Disney and the direction they're going, and they have all these people within the community and their special advisors and stuff. I'm like, I wonder how many like faith-based or like things they would have in Disney to be like, I don't know, respectful going forward or whatever. Like we just don't have that sort. It doesn't seem like we have that sort of pull. Like obviously you used to, but I don't know if it's just because they've become so afraid and there's so many progressive folk out there, or just haven't spoken up, or they just got enough people involved who are like that, who will just compromise, I guess. Um, but it's amazing that, for example, you can have an organization like Chick-fil-A where the owners are just Christian, and they don't, when gay people come in Chick-fil-A, they don't say, hey, you're gay, you can't eat the chicken, this is the Lord's chicken. They don't do that. There hasn't been instances or wide reporting or something of employees who are gay who are just demeaned and bullied and forced out of Chick-fil-A. That does, but they do have pretty, I don't know how many, I don't know what their LGBT hiring practices are. I think they're pretty strenuous, I think, about who they end up hiring. But they have some excellent, man, quality service with Chick-fil-A. So I don't think it'd be anybody just getting there. But they still want to come at Chick-fil-A because the people who owned it were Christian, and they gave money to some groups that were Christian, and they're like, oh, they're anti-LGBTQIA plus hashtag squared, you know, they're against those folks. When people just have different beliefs, that doesn't mean people are actively trying to hurt you, destroy you, or whatever. But that's a bad company. And Chris Pratt, someone, there's the new Thor movie coming out, which I absolutely will not be seeing, but some of the Guardians are in it. So Chris Pratt like tweeted about it, you know, oh, you guys are gonna love it. And someone's like, oh, please replace Chris Pratt. And then James Gunn. No, it wasn't James Gunn. It was I think it was James Gunn who replied. But James Gunn isn't the one doing the film, of course. But he's like, why would he be replaced? Why would Chris Pratt be replaced? Because of rumors that you heard about him, because of what you think you know about him. And then people are like, oh, but he goes to, I think it's Hillsong maybe, into this church. So they just assume all this stuff about him, and they're mad because he goes to church and the church shares his particular views. So they go after folks for that. So it's just an interesting contrast to me. That folks can be so upset about people who have like some kind of religious leanings, but on the flip side, you have Taco Bell who have a drag hour. It's just interesting to me who has like the sort of political pull, and which doesn't make sense because you're talking about like a fraction of the population versus a very huge organized chunk of people. So this is really amazing. Stunning, amazing in a very ridiculous sort of way. I don't understand why all these brands I understand being for or being supportive of the LGBT, but I don't understand the push for the drag things. I mean, I don't find it some people find it comical or funny or whatever. I personally, I kind of think they look like monsters, and I don't like seeing them personally. So I don't like it, but RuPaul said that the drag is supposed to never be mainstream because they make a mockery out of culture and identity and all that other kind of stuff. So if they're making a mockery and a mockery out of our culture and a mockery out of identity, and aren't they making a mockery of femininity and womanhood? And I already said this, you know, I said an article once and I repeated it on Facebook, but it's basically like a minstrel show, but they're mocking womanhood. They're mocking womanhood. Now, men can go ahead and be cross-dressers and wear makeup and dresses and all that kind of stuff. It's a free country. But I don't understand the huge push from the mainstream to just make it so mainstream. I don't understand that. There was an episode of The Resident, which I don't watch anymore, but the main character, he had just got engaged to another like main character, and they decided, I guess, to celebrate at a drag show, And he's like, and it was a surprise. And she took him there. He's like, oh my gosh, I love him. So excited. My sister's like, why is a straight man so excited to go to a drag show? And then the whole episode ended up being about the drag queen because they got sick and stuff. Of course, it's a hospital show, so they treated them. And then they also had like the drag was like raised in church, and they had like a accept me for who I am sort of religious sort of compromise moment that was in the show too. So it was it's just a really really big push. And how big of a push is it? Well, here's a video that Matt Walsh pointed out, because people keep having these groomer conversations. And they're like, oh, Disney's not grooming people, grooming kids.
How are you? How you doing?
Thanks for being here. I love that you love root beer, caffeine free.
So, if you don't know that Desmond kid, he was in the news quite a bit when images and stuff started popping up of them doing drag, but he would like be in clubs or whatever and doing the drag, and there'd be men like throwing money at him. This kid was like 11 doing all that stuff. So I knew that kid got really big play. I wasn't aware that he was on like Good Morning America. And it's in Strahan, they're all just like, oh, praising this kid about how brave he is, and his parents, and he was talking about his parents, like, my parents support me because they let me do whatever I want. And I'm just like, that's not good parenting. Let me do whatever I want is absolutely not good parenting. So shame on them. You really shouldn't have your child in bars where grown men throw money at him. Not appropriate. He likes to play with trains. Just let him play with trains. You don't have to do the drag in the trains. And then they also brought on other drag queens in the segment to go ahead and support Desmond. The one in the middle said they started doing drag at 15, so they're like, oh, it'd be great to have like the confidence that you have, and they started giving him gifts and more makeup and makeup tutorials. And one of them owned a dance studio and wanted Desmond to come and dance. But this is what Good Morning America decided to do. And of course, Good Morning America is owned by Disney, and no one in the segment at all was just like, hey, this is strange, this is weird. For a brief second they did mention you do have people who criticize this. And and someone's phone went off in the audience, and then they kind of looked or whatever, and it kind of maybe distracted them, and Desmond's just like, it's fine, and then they just moved on. So no like scrutiny at all, just like total support of this. So to the producers and the staff, the hosts, the parents, the audience members who clapped along, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you, seriously? So, as RuPaul said, and I know RuPaul's the one who made it so mainstream with like doing the drag race and all that kind of stuff like that, it's not something that we're supposed to accept as normal. That's the whole like opposite of what's the point of doing the drag anyway. So why are they just trying to put it everywhere? Like, oh, it's so fabulous. Oh yes, queen. Like it's something we're just supposed to just nod along with. And I know that's the case because they did have a drag queen on Blue's Clues during Pride Month leading a pride parade. So there's that. And we've talked about that a lot. Uh, and on Nickelodeon, they also did have a drag queen sing a song about feel them with doesn't it just fill you with pride or something? The song was awful, by the way. Um, and a lot of these folks can't sing either. That bothers me too. You get these big, burly, scary looking men, and a lot of them would just do the lip singing thing. And if some of them sing, they can't really sing well. It's just I don't know, not great. I don't get it. But they had him on Nickelodeon singing a song during Pride Month, and I'm sure they'll have more stuff coming up. Um, Disney did a "This Is Me" thing last year. I think it was during Pride Month where they did have a drag queen leading different songs, singing different songs like Disney songs and stuff. And "This Is Me" is the song from The Greatest Showman, which I don't know. So if you listen to the lyrics of the word songs, I would not really associate that with sort of leftism today, because it's like, here I am. I'm not gonna let you bother me about who I am, or get to me. I'm just gonna be here and do my thing. That's not how it is. If you say I'm not gonna respect your pronouns, we're like, you're making me not exist, and you're fading away into nothing. So I don't think that song fits the left at all. Someone said God is not happy. I think you're right. But this is the kind of stuff that they're pushing and really trying to normalize. Normalize to your kids. It's not just being pushed to adults and not in like seedy place or anything like that. It's being pushed to your children. And I'd have to ask why. Why are we doing drag time story hours? Why are we doing that? Why are we allowing that in a civilized society that claims to want to protect our children? So I don't know if I'm be going to Taco Bell anytime soon. Probably for the best anyway. And they were about to bring back Mexican pizza too. But this is crazy. This is crazy. And I guess like Taco Bell is trying to also, I don't know, there's a lot of Taco Bell enthusiasts. There's people who have Taco Bell weddings and had like baby showers or baby announcements, and I've seen some enthusiast sort of pictures. So there's like a hot mess kind of ghetto culture, I think, with like associated with Taco Bell. So maybe the fabulousness of that, maybe they feel can relate to sort of like Taco Bell. But this is mm-mm. It's someone said didn't eat that cat food anyway. Yeah, well, I did. I did, but yeah, I won't be going there lately. But people, I think, should let them know that they don't like this kind of stuff. Or I guess it'll just keep happening, and they'll just keep pushing forward. But anyway, ending a little early today, but that's all I got for you guys today. I will be talking about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard stuff, the trial. There's some interesting tidbits and stuff coming out, just throughout the whole thing. But I saw a poll that said majority of Americans think that he's probably telling the truth, and the people who've been following it closely, I think 72% think he's telling the truth, and I think majority beyond that, what's left, I think majority of people who just don't know, because I think only like maybe 10% believe Amber. So we'll see. We'll see. But I do think it's interesting his dislike of Disney, or calling out Disney, because he's worked with those people for a very long time, and for them to like drop him with like pirates and other stuff like that, and to just have him assume that he was guilty, um and have him lose out on so much money and potential. While he pointed out they still have his character in amusement parks and other places like that, so they're still making money off of the character, which he helped to build from the ground up. As a matter of fact, the vision they had for Jack Sparrow, when Johnny Depp started to like do like this Keith Richardson's impression, or whatever it is with the makeup and the guy liner and all that kind of other stuff, someone from Disney thought he was going to ruin the character, or didn't like what he was doing, but he totally made that his own, and he is responsible for why people love that franchise. But he said Disney could not pay him enough to go back to work for them. But Disney owns so much. People mad about Elon Musk owning Twitter. Did they bring that same energy with Disney, like owning everything? So much of what you consume media wise is owned by Disney, especially when they acquired Fox. Not Fox News. I think they don't own Fox News, but when they acquired Fox as well, they might own like 70% of entertainment. Like Disney owns so much. And they got the Marvel and they got the Star Wars, they got what they already had. They had these, ABC, if you watch that, they own a lot. They own a lot. So if you want to talk about someone having too much power, it's the mouse. Which, by the way, the copyright on Mickey Mouse should have already ran out, but Congress keeps extending that. So that's interesting. That's interesting. They get a lot of special privileges everywhere. But we'll see how their stocks have been doing so great. I don't know how much of that is associated with backlash versus people not liking, because some of the Disney Plus went down anyway, and some of it might just have to do with them not putting out great content. Like some of their TV shows haven't quite been hitting, and I think people aren't as interested in their MCU sort of route. So maybe it's a accumulation of things. I don't know if I want to pinpoint it all to like parental outrage, but we'll see. Hopefully, I do want them to hurt some more, so they rescind some of the crazy things and just decide to go in a path forward that makes sense. But who knows? By the way, I think Saudi Arabia's request and some other Arab nations requested that the Doctor Strange film takes out a scene, like a couple different second clip in the film when a character, America Chavez, I think is her name, mentions having two moms. So they want that, taken out. We'll see if Disney complies, because otherwise they probably won't allow it to be in their theaters, and so they'll lose money there. I don't know if China's banned it yet. I don't know if they will, and I don't know if Disney at this point is going to comply with taking it out or not. But I don't think she's just merely gay. This character might be trans, if I'm not mistaken. I think she's not human, but Marvel's done a lot to really try to promote her. She's not a popular character, but like they have a Marvel game where they like, I don't know, make the perks to having her and using her worth it. So they really kind of try to rig the system to make you like these characters that have some kind of identity politics thing attached to it. So I'm gonna look up a little bit more stuff on that and probably put out an article about it. But that's all I got for you guys today. I just thought it was an interesting tidbit. Please make sure you guys go to blacktnews.com, check out different articles that I have on the website, different videos that I have. Make sure you're following me across my different platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. All my handles are at Black Tea News, with the exception of Twitter. That was at True Black Tea. Make sure that you guys are checking out different merch that I have in the store, like the cool goat hoodie, goat t-shirt. You guys can check that out and purchase that. I am going to Motor City Comic Con on the 13th through 15th. So if you're in the Metro Detroit area, sort of, it's in Novi. I'm going to be there. I'll have a table. I do write books. So if you want to, purchase some, I'll be there with, Slay Your Fear, Color of God's Eye, Song on the Devil's Lips, Super Kid 2, and my new book, Anubis. So if you guys want to pop in and get a signed copy, you guys can do that. Excited about that. Otherwise, if you're too far, you definitely don't want to go to Comic-Con, you can purchase those books on Amazon. Just look up my name, Christina Bar, L-Bar, and it'll pop up. But you can go to blacktnews.com, hit the merchandise link, and then there will be a banner that'll take you to my book website. I saw some people really taking advantage of the fact that it's on Kindle Kindle Select or Kindle Unlimited. That's what it is. So you can read it on paperback. You can read it on Kindle, or you can read on Kindle Unlimited if you have a subscription, and just read through the pages. And I promise you, I will get paid as long as you read through those pages. So go ahead and do that. And if you would like to support blacktnews.com, go to blacktnews.com/donate and consider leaving a donation to help out Black Tea News. God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow for more Black Tea.